A great game doesn't mean that every aspect of it is great. That, to be frank, is impossible. Nothing's perfect, and even if it was, that may take away from some of the title's personality. Sometimes little flaws can be the highlight of the experience. The thing with popular games though is that people like to pretend that these flaws don't exist. Sometimes they'll straight up lie about them, which is ridiculous. The truth's right there in your face and you're just happy to ignore it. I'm Simon from What Culture, and this is 9 popular video games with glaring flaws that nobody admits. Number 9, Overwatch. Everyone loves Overwatch. In fact, some people love Overwatch a little too much, if you know what I mean. The characters, dude. Characters. They're not real. Despite all that, it is beloved though, and the community continues to grow by the day. A huge reason for this is the small loot boxes that you can unlock, and each of these will give you something different, ranging from stickers to costumes to voice lines to icons to animations to victory poses and even cash. It sounds good, right? Well, it's not. Most of the time you'll get a few stickers, a random voice line, or a costume for a character you don't even want to play as. Even getting enough gold coins to buy something is a lottery, so eventually you'll be forced to dive into the microtransaction market, which nobody wants to do. That's not cool, especially because this usually results in buying more of these damn loot boxes. That's a flawed system, yet no one cares. Number 8, Batman Arkham City. I genuinely think Batman Arkham City is one of the best games ever made. From the time I started it till I saw the credits, I felt like I was the Dark Knight and it was just wonderful. It always made sense that Rocksteady would introduce an open world to its series, and that's what it did here. But in many ways, that environment is pointless. The atmosphere it creates is incredible, but given how it's laid out, it really is just a series of enclosed spaces and levels peppered across Gotham. There's no pedestrians and the streets are just littered with random thugs for you to smash in the face as and when you choose. You can even argue it would have been a bit better if it had been more like Uncharted 4, just a large area which ultimately pushes you down a specific path. Doesn't really matter though, Arkham City rocks. Do whatever it wants. Number 7, Far Cry 3. The crazy Vars was front and center in the marketing campaign for Far Cry 3. He was your main villain, or so it seemed, and the performance was genuinely excellent. All that was summed up perfectly with the definition of insanity speech that still gets talked about today. He was built up ever since the game was announced and from the moment you start Far Cry 3. And he dies in a cutscene about halfway through and is never brought up again. It happened so fast too, you're left wondering what just went on and what the point of the whole thing was. This is how we use the man who probably helped to sell millions of copies of this game? It's not good, but it's rarely mentioned now. Number 6, God of War. Much like Arkham City, I love God of War. It's just one angry man being angry, and that's alright by me. When you look a little deeper though, well, when you actually take a step back and think about Kratos' motivations, it makes sense. Not that it matters, but still. In short, Kratos accidentally kills his entire family after being asked by Ares to wipe out a number of villages to prove his allegiance. So I'm meant to believe that this man didn't recognize his own house, he didn't recognize his own wife, and he didn't recognize his own child. And after that, it's Ares' fault as opposed to, Kratos' fault. Don't want to upset you, Kratos, but this may be on you. Just an idea. Number 5, GTA Online. The DLC argument isn't going away anytime soon. On the one hand, if you don't like them, don't buy them. No one is forcing you. On the other, if it is getting in the way of your gaming experience, it's not so great. We all know how successful Rockstar has made GTA Online and it's become quite the beast today. Shark cards, however, which you gotta pay for, are very prevalent in terms of wanting you to avoid the standard in-game progression and get to where you want to be faster. Be it cars or weapons, you can avoid having to play for tens of hours and just take real cash and sink it into the game. Following the same approach of Overwatch in the sense you can just play to get the same stuff, the fast track option is always going to have a lot more appeal and encourage players to spend. You can see why it would be off-putting, but at the same time, just say no. It does take away a bit from what is a stellar experience otherwise though. Number 4, BioShock Infinite. BioShock Infinite is great, it really is. While over the last few years people have cast doubt over whether that's true, I'm happy to tell you, it is. However, there is one thing that makes no sense. Songbird. At no point does the game ever really tell you what the hell that thing is or where it came from. There's some papers scattered around that underlines people were working on the technology, but BioShock never goes into enough detail, probably because no one at Irrational had a clue. I think there was some giant man inside the suit who chatted to Elizabeth, and that was kind of it. Even that crazy ending has a better explanation, and that's pretty nuts too. Number 3, Deus Ex Mankind Divided. Late last year, internet hero Jim Sterling discovered that Deus Ex's Mankind Divided's microtransactions were only added in the final few weeks of development. As it was last minute, it kinda broke the progression system as Square Enix could only add this to abilities you already got across the campaign. It was basically designed retroactively to get you to pay money. It was a huge shame as Deus Ex's Breach mode was oddly addictive, and yet it received hate from fans and slowly faded away because of these decisions. It was basically pay to win, and no one likes pay to win. Unless you're loaded, then pay to win is great. Number 2, Uncharted 4. At the start of the Uncharted saga, Elaine is a pistol-equipped journalist. Then in Uncharted 4, she's a neck-snapping, headshot-perfecting soldier. But yeah, when you meet up with her in A Thief's End, Uncharted's AI algorithm remains the same for Elaine as it does for Sully or Brother Sam. Now, the latter are known criminals who have done that a lot, so it makes sense. But Elaine is not. So seeing her rush in to crush someone's throat and gun down dozens of enemies is really weird, and not in keeping with her character at all. She basically becomes the female version of the Punisher, and while that would be really cool, it's not who Elaine is. Kinda takes you out in the moment. Number 1, Metal Gear Solid 3. Metal Gear Solid 3 is amazing. Proving that Hideo Kojima is some kind of gaming genius, it's like nothing else on this planet, apart from other Metal Gear games. While Snake Eater is pitched to us as a stealth title, however, go and count the amount of times you screwed up and shot your way out of trouble to get back to normalcy. I bet the answer is a lot. This was mostly due to Kojima removing the Soliton radar, forcing you to monitor a percentage as to how visible you were. That made Metal Gear Solid 3 one of the hardest in the franchise in terms of getting a handle of where exactly you were visible from, and the amount of times you'd be caught was ridiculous. Ultimately, you may as well have just gone Rambo on everything all the time because nothing else worked to begin with. Know of any other games that had glaring flaws? Let us know in the comments below, and remember to like, share and subscribe. You can even come tell me on Twitter at SimonMiller316 and WhatCulture at WhatCulture. I'm Simon from WhatCulture. I'll speak to you again soon.